Some breaking news is MLB insider Jon Heyman has dropped a bombshell report as it pertains to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and his future in Toronto regarding a contract extension. We're going to break that down and discuss what it means going forward, as well as break down an interesting tidbit about BOMBSHELL. We also have some big updates ahead of what's going to be a huge series today that starts against the New York Mets. So stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. But before we get into it, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, it's the place to be for daily Jays content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. If you want to help us towards our big goal of 17,000 subscribers, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys again for your continued support. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot to go over today. And obviously, we've been talking a lot on this channel about how good the Jays have been, and we obviously in the offseason spoke a ton about the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. situation, his future in Toronto, and all those things. And now that the season has started, the Jays are 5-2. They're rolling. Vladdy's off to a bit of a slow start. We have a ton of other guys stepping up. But regardless of that, the Jays have been playing very good baseball, and that's kind of overshadowed the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. extension talks and all these things. But Jon Heyman dropped a report late last night that kind of blew all that up and got us back talking about it a little bit here. And it's very interesting. It's a pretty big report, and there's two reports. There's also one from Bob Nightingale I want to dive into, but you can see this here from Josh Goldberg. Heyman says the belief remains that the Blue Jays and Vladdy will, quote, figure it out for close to $500 million. And there's a bunch of different things here, but in the article, basically, it just says this. This is the exact quote from the article. The belief remains Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the Jays will figure it out for close to $500 million. So this one is very interesting because Jon Heyman is obviously a Boris. You know, he's connected with Boris. He's gotten a bunch of contract extensions, right? He was the first one on Soto, all these different things. If this is true, this is very big news for the Toronto Blue Jays. And obviously, my focus right now is on the regular season. The focus is on the Toronto Blue Jays right now playing good baseball and winning this series against the New York Mets. That's obviously the immediate focus. But again, when news like this comes out from Jon Heyman, say what you want about Jon Heyman. He has been arguably, aside from Jeff Passan, the most reliable reporter by far out of everybody else. He's gotten everything right. He hasn't really missed, especially this past offseason and this season thus far. But it's very, very interesting now because we're talking about, again, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bichette, all these different things and how good they've been playing to start the year, specifically Vladdy, falling off a little bit. But he comes out, Jon Heyman, and says that they believe that the contract will get done for $500 million. He goes on to say some other things about how they're still negotiating and things like that. If this gets done, this is big. Again, they tried. If you think back to the start of opening day last Thursday, the Jays tried to get it done. They threw a final offer out, according to Mike Rodriguez, and he's also been very reliable this offseason, or the past offseason, sorry. And now, of course, we're in the regular season. It's so crazy to think we're already in the regular season. It feels like we've been saying offseason all season long. But regardless, we're in the regular season now. Before the regular season started, the Jays, down to the very last day, the very last minute, tried to extend Vladdy. They came up short. This report drops from Jon Heyman. Pretty big news. Now, you pair this with Bob Nightingale in a recent article as well. He said the Toronto Blue Jays continue to inch closer to signing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. a contract extension, likely a 14 or 15-year deal worth about $500 million. This is now a separate report from a different reporter revealing that the Jays are in serious talks, it seems like, to acquire Vladimir Guerrero, not acquire, but to re-sign and extend Vladimir Guerrero Jr. This it starts to get very interesting because is he worth $500 million? Probably. Right now, the offer is, and we got to assume that all of these are after deferrals because we know that he doesn't want, before deferrals, because we know that he doesn't want deferred money. And the offer right now is $450 million, with deferrals and all that stuff. He doesn't want deferred money. He wants $500 million before deferrals. The current offer, from all things reported, was $500 million after deferrals or $450 before deferrals. Very interesting now that we have two different reports come out, one from Jon Heyman, one from Bob Nightingale, revealing the Jays are, and both with the with the same number, $500 million, which will be about $550 to $600 million if you want to go with deferred money, which is about a $50 to $100 million raise from where they are. And I think at this point, it definitely makes some sense to extend Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But for Jon Heyman to come out and say this, especially at a point where he has been pretty heavy on, all these different rumors about Vladdy, the Red Sox, the Mets, all these different things. The moment that the February 18th deadline passed, Jon Heyman was coming out and he was saying he's not going to extend with the Jays. He's going to, it's all but inevitable at this point that he goes to free agency. He's going to sign with the Red Sox, the Mets, all these different things. And now he's coming out and saying, okay, the belief remains that the Jays and Vladdy will figure it out. So this is very big news from a very reputable reporter. You pair that with the Bob Nightingale stuff. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. That is very exciting. And the funny thing is, Vladdy hasn't been off to a great start this season. You can see here he has, of course, he's played every single game, 6 hits in 31 plate appearances, 27 at-bats. I mean, he has a 624 OPS. It's not great. He's smoking the ball still. His swing is coming along. He's yet to hit a home run. I think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to be fine. Like, he is still smoking the ball, similar to Bichette. Even when he went 1 for 9 in the last 2 games of that Washington National Series, he had a few really unlucky hits. His BABIP luck is bad. Same with Vladdy. That being said, Vladdy is swinging a little bit out of the zone. He's going back to his 2023 self a little bit as it pertains to his swing decisions. Same with 2022 and his self back then when he was strike out more. But regardless of that, I think Vladdy's going to be perfectly fine. He's going to continue to really build upon last season. Of course, he needs to, right? Especially if he's going to get these big contracts. But hearing the news that he's going to extend with the Jays, according to Jon Heyman, is a huge bombshell report. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. But let's shift focus a little bit now to the series at hand, which is later today against the Mets this afternoon. It is going to be a very interesting one because the Jays are going up against a lot of interesting pitchers, because I'm going to dive into that in a minute. But let's start by looking at the current, structure. Of course, Easton Lucas now is the Jays starting pitcher and their 5th starting pitcher. But going up against the Mets, you're going to have Kevin Gausman starting today against a very interesting right-handed pitcher. And there's been a lot of discourse about a bunch of different things, right? Whether that be, will the rotation be able to, hold up against other teams all season long? But for now, it's Gausman against Tyler McGill, Chris Bassitt against Griffin Canning, and then Bowden Francis against David Peterson. So Friday, which is, of course, today, you have Kevin Gausman against Tyler McGill. Tyler McGill is coming off a very good start, a 1.69 ERA in his one start. You can't really look at the stats this season. If Kevin Gausman could come out and be electric the way that he has been thus far in spring and the season, I think the Jays can have a good chance to win this series. You got to take 2 out of 3 here, and we're going to see what I assume is a lot of Will Wagner and Alan Roden for these next couple of days, Friday and Saturday, because as you look at the lineup now, Alan Roden, again, both of these guys are right-handers, Tyler McGill and Griffin Canning, neither of which are particularly great. Canning's coming off of, not a great season. I believe last year was middling 4s ERA. Regardless of that, Griffin Canning is not a great starting pitcher in the league. I don't think Tyler McGill is necessarily fantastic either, especially when you look at his, career ERA in his previous years. But we're going to see specifically the lineup, and of course it's not out yet as of recording. It's very early in the morning, but you look at it from the Nathan Lucas perspective, the Alan Roden. I suspect we're going to see George Springer in center probably with Alan Roden, and then Will Wagner probably at third. That would be the way that I shape up the lineup and giving Ernie Clement some time, because I don't think he's played great. Other than that, you have Bo, Vladdy, Santander, probably Jimenez, Alejandro, George Springer. It's probably this exact lineup we have now, except maybe you still even rock Nathan Lucas there, depending on how things go. Maybe they give Miles Straw some run following his great game, but probably either Ernie Clement or Nathan Lucas. I don't hate the idea here of having Nathan Lucas in center field either to start the game, especially with, I don't think he has much time left in the big leagues with the Jays when Dalton Varsho comes back, but that's the lineup there. And then, of course, on Sunday, you're going up against David Peterson, who is a lefty, and he's very good, coming off of 21 starts last year with a 2.90 ERA. He's going to be interesting. I think that's where you get a lot of your righties in, David Schneiders of the world. So it's going to be an interesting one, folks. We're going to keep you up to date all season long with a video following tonight's game. Also, most hits in the AL, Bo Bichette, George Springer, Jose Altuve, Jacob Wilson. You have the Jays with 2 of the top 4 most hits in the AL. If George Springer can keep this up, Bo Bichette can keep this up. If the Jays can keep this up, move to 6-2, they're still at top of the AL East. Things are going to get crazy. That'll wrap it up. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. Cheers.